Remy Shaffer is a published author, playwright, and podcast producer from the central Pennsylvania area, as well as a self-proclaimed hype man and father of four. You can listen to his podcast Remy Trails on Linktree at linktree/RemyX0, that's RemyXzer0, or on Instagram at RemyX0, that's at RemyXzer0. For this reading of But What He Really Means, the role of Sam is played by Tom Schmitt, the role of Julia is played by Julie Stackhouse, and the role of Ian is played by Jason Cohen, with stage directions and cues read by Isaac J. Connor.
Sam, secretly in love with Julia, who is the only person to whom this is a secret. He is determined to not be friend-zoned, and finally works up the courage to confess. After learning about her possible condition, he simply says, "You're the best." But what he really means is, "I love you." Casting notes. Sam is average but well-spoken. He wasn't the star of the football team in high school, but he wasn't unpopular. He is a jeans and t-shirt sort of man, and the stubble on his cheeks and messy hair lend to the idea that he's a bachelor that hasn't quite figured it out yet. Julia, Sam's love interest. She is completely oblivious that her best friend is in love with her and is a little distracted by her possible condition. Casting notes. Julia is well put together, hairstyled and worn down, an outfit planned meticulously each night before bed. Her makeup is always well done, and her shoes and her purse match. There's no question from the moment she is seen on stage why Sam fell for her, superficially. Ian, friend of Sam's, hates to see him struggle like this, so he convinces him to confess his feelings to Julia. Casting notes. Ian's got it. Nice shoes, pants with a belt, blazer, jackets. He's well put together and is a fair contrast to his best friend. He wears a clean shave, neat hair, and constant grin. The curtain opens on Sam adjusting the camera, and then he sits on his couch, steeling himself to begin recording his video for a dating site. Propping up a cell phone could also be used as a camera.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm 24, self-employed, and live in a very nice apartment. This is my first attempt at a dating site, and it's a terrible idea. I have no interest in dating. See, I know the perfect girl for me. I know what she looks like, how she laughs, how much she hates cottage cheese, and I'll never forget the night I realized that I was, that she was perfect.
He grabs a blazer from the coat rack and quickly puts it on. Music is turned on from off stage, and a beautiful woman is standing with a drink in her hand behind his couch.
My Christmas party last year. I would tell you about the other people who were there, but she's all I remember. Just look at her.
He motions to her. She's wearing a stunning evening gown, cocktail dress.
So, anyway, I'm just trying to figure out now how to use this degree. So, in the meantime, I'm volunteering at the homeless shelter and hoping for inspiration to strike.
I'm sure you figured it out quickly. You seem to always gracefully land on your feet.
You're sweet. This is why I talk to you. Ever since we met, you're always so uplifting.
She touches his arm while smiling at him, giving him an obvious opening that he blunders by awkwardly giggling into his drink.
What about you? What are your grand career plans?
I've given it some thought. I'm thinking skydiving instructor.
Sammy, you've been afraid of heights since that field trip in the 7th grade to the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah?
She tilts her head back and starts to laugh and freezes.
That's right. Right there. That's when it hit me. I almost told her to, but as usual, I flaked.
Julie resumes laughing.
Julia?
Yeah?
You're the best.
He bangs his head and walks over to the coat rack as Julia exits and the music stops. He flops back down on the couch and looks back toward the camera audience.
I joked, and I haven't been able to say it since. I don't know why. I'm even still recording.
Just as Sam gets out the last word, Ian bursts into the room.
Sam, great news, buddy. I just got us tickets to... What's that?
What's what?
Dude, you're going through with an online meet a stalker, axe murderer, or worse chick who has 120 fur babies dating site? Look, buddy, you're killing me here.
Ian,
Ian dramatically falls to his knees on the floor, clasping his hands together like he's praying for salvation.
Please, dude, I'm begging you, just tell her.
Sam rolls his eyes.
get up.
Ian shakes his head, still very dramatically. Sam just stares at him for a moment.
I'll stay here forever until you promise her you're gonna tell her. Just say, hey, Julia, I'm lonely.
All right. Okay, I'll tell her.
Ian throws his hands into the air, exalting some unforeseen force.
Finally, months after pleading and dealing with the sad Sammy, we're finally here, man.
Ian crawls on his knees over to Sam and throws his arms around his waist, hugging him and saying,
Thank you, man.
Ian rubs his face against Sam's stomach, somewhat like a cat nuzzling its owner.
Ian,
Ian looks up at Sam, face still pressed against his stomach.
Yeah, Sammy?
get the hell off me.
Ian sheepishly stands, brushing himself off.
Well, do you mean it this time?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell her. I mean, why not, right?
Well, great, let's go.
As they get to the door and Sam reaches out to twist the knob, there is a knock. They jump back like the door tried to bite them and look back and forth between one another and the door 3 times, then another knock. Sam slowly opens the door and there stands a very distraught Julia. She falls into Sam's arms and he embraces her, patting her back lightly.
Julia, what is it?
He leads her to the couch and looks back at Ian, motioning for him to leave. Ian just gives him a thumbs up and doesn't budge. Sam looks back to Julia, who hasn't calmed down yet. Then after not hearing the door, looks back to see Ian still standing there. He motions more dramatically and Ian finally gets it and leaves.
Julia?
Uh-huh.
Take a breath. Talk to me. What's wrong?
She follows his advice and wipes her face, then takes another breath. Sam is nodding yes.
I think I'm pregnant.
Sam is still nodding. For a long time.
Sam!
He shakes his head instead.
Right? What?
I know.
Who? Who is the... When did you... Who?
To Jack, the fireman I was dating recently.
Sam blankly stares at her. He smiles in a failed attempt to show her he understands.
The guy that I met volunteering, his family owns like half of downtown.
Sam shrugs.
He looks a bit like Hugh Jackman.
It dawns on him.
Oh, yeah. I know. Oh, yeah. Right. So have you told him?
Oh, there's nothing to tell yet. I'm not 100% sure. Sammy, what am I going to do?
Sam attempts to comfort her.
Well, we'll figure it out.
She throws her arms around his neck.
Thanks, Sam. You're always so sure. I don't know what I'd do without you. God, I'm a mess. I'm going to go clean up a bit.
Julia?
She turns to look at him. He hesitates.
You're the best.
She smiles at him and exits. He has enough time to put his face in his hands until Ian bursts back into the room.
Damn, that was brutal, man.
You have no idea. I've known Jack since college. Great personality, generous, very well-off family.
Oh, yeah. A guy who looks like Hugh Jackman?
Sam glares at him, and after a moment, Ian shrugs.
Sorry.
Well, I guess that's the end of that.
The end of what? I mean, still feel the way you feel, right? And if she doesn't know anything for sure, I mean, I say you tell her.
Sam shakes his head.
Here he goes.
This is it, man. This is the moment where we separate the men from the boys, okay? Where you fulfill your destiny. Today's the day you proclaim that you will not bow out quietly. Oh, no. No, not Sam, with the head held high. You shall be victorious. You shall burn your name into the tome of the friend zone, okay? As the one who rose above, and you shall.
At friend zone, Sam leaps to his feet and interrupts Ian.
Whoa, I am not friend-zoned.
Dude, she all but said, you're my best friend.
Stop that.
Sorry.
Sam thinks on it a moment, then recognition floods his face. Ian, having been watching him this whole time, started to nod his head.
Oh, no, 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 no. I am so completely in the friend zone.
Ian facepalms.
What do I do? What do I do?
Ian takes in a breath to make a suggestion.
I've got it.
Ian exhales dramatically.
I'll propose.
He smiles triumphantly, as if he solved life's greatest mystery. As he looks to Ian for approval, Ian slaps him across the face.
Dude, no.
Well, I have to think of something. I can't let this go.
Sam remembers in horror that Julia is still there and desperately tries to hide Ian by stuffing him behind the coat rack and covering him with a jacket, doing an extremely poor job. Sam smooths out his hair, smells his breath, shudders, shrugs his shoulders, and jumps back onto the couch. He looks over his shoulder to address Julia.
Yeah?
That potpourri smells amazing in there.
Ian snorts loudly.
Are you feeling any better?
It depends. You only get morning sickness in the morning, right? I don't know. I think I just really need to be with friends right now.
Sam winces a little at that word, friends. Ian holds up a sign that says, friend zoned, in huge letters on it. And Sam scowls at him and shakes his head. Sam would flip Ian the bird, but very dramatically if your audience allows for it.
I planned this whole thing happening so differently, you know? And sure, Jack's a great guy.
Yeah. Who doesn't love Jack?
Right? But this is just not fair, you know?
She starts to pace upstage.
I just started this internship with the magazine and they will not allow for maternity leave. I'm way too Catholic to, you know.
I know. Look, no matter what happens, what he wants or doesn't want, it'll be okay.
How can you possibly know that?
Because you're so smart and beautiful.
Ian holds up a sign that says, "Aww." Julia smiles at him. Sam takes a deep breath and a step toward her.
You're sweet. Can I ask you something?
Sure.
What aren't you telling me?
Sam is dumbstruck. He just stares at her with a stupid grin.
Sam.
Right. See, there's something I have to tell you.
Okay. What's up?
It's not the easiest thing to say.
What, you're pregnant too?
He laughs lightly and realizes he's giving her that stop being negative look.
Kidding.
He hesitates noticeably.
Come on, Sam, you can tell me anything.
Forget it. It can wait.
Ian loudly facepalms. Julia doesn't seem to notice. He holds up a sign that reads, "Dude!" just in time for Sam to look at him, and Sam shakes his head no.
Oh, no fair. Out with it.
No, just forget it.
You're being ridiculous.
It's not important.
Then just say it. Just talk to me.
Fine.
He breaks, grabs both of her hands, takes a very deep breath, and stares directly into her eyes.
Julia, I'm in love with you.
All right. Having staged that and directed it, it's always interesting to see another cast of people do the same thing. Remy, I'm sure you had the same feeling, right?
It was fun. It reads very well. I could picture the whole thing as we read through it.
Yeah. I was gonna say absolutely. It's a very like a fluid thing. Like it's definitely not, you know, too on the side of like over romanticizing something or like whatever. It's like, you know, I would totally have that conversation with Tom.
I hesitated for a second to even set it in because of the presence of the whole friend zone conversation. But I'm really glad I did anyway.
Yeah, what was your reservation on the friend zone thing? You mentioned that to me.
Yeah, so without getting too soapboxy, like the friend zone isn't a real thing, you know. If you think it's frustrating that your attractive female friend won't have sex with you, imagine your creepy guy friend expecting it from you, kind of thing. So I was concerned that would somehow communicate the idea that I thought that the friend zone was a real thing more than it was just a satirical look at it. And previously there were some other elements that were meant to be very made fun of, but when they came across during the original production, if you recall, they needed to be addressed as well. So I wanted to double check and make sure that I had adjusted those before I put them in.
Yeah, there were some, I mean...
It's hard to make fun of a group of people without hurting someone's feelings.
Yeah, and friend zone is absolutely a thing. Like, that's not fake. Like, that's something that everybody's been through, especially in their younger years, or at least,
Sure.
you know, I would say especially people in their younger years.
Yeah.
So...
I've known Tom for years, you know.
Poor Tom.
Experience.